In a lot of ways, the internet is the wild west of entertainment and information. Compared to some of the more established forms of media like television, movies, print news media, and books, the internet is still in its infancy. One form of creation seemingly native to the internet is the art of the meme, typically a funny unit of shared cultural information endlessly modified and repeated by its audience. From the image macros of yore to the modern phenomenon of deep-fried madness, it's clear that the internet loves a good meme. Vladimir Putin, on the other hand, is not a fan. That's right, the 67-year-old KGB agent turned prime minister turned president of the Russian Federation has shown the world his inner boomer by declaring the war on memes. Well, not all memes. Some legislation passed by Russian parliament last year gives the Russian authorities sweeping powers to fine, arrest, and even jail citizens who post disrespectful content about Russian state officials online, including, of course, President Vladimir Putin. This law even extends toward internet memes judged to be seditious on an extremely flexible set of criteria. And who would have guessed that a man known for often assassinating his critics, like Boris Nemtsov and Anna Politkovskaya, wouldn't be able to take a joke? Though interestingly, an inability to take joking criticism has actually been a running theme in Putin's political career. After coming to power, one of his first acts was to ban a satirical television puppet show called Kukli for previously depicting him as an angry, profane gnome. The anti-meme legislation of 2019 feels like a natural extension of that same attitude toward any kind of critical jokes. The legislation was introduced by Russian Senator Andrei Klishas on behalf of the United Russia Party, led by, of course, Vladimir Putin. The law comes on the tail of Putin's national trust ratings dropping to 33%, a 13-year low for the controversial president. The legislation has numerous critics in Russian parliament, such as lawyer Sergei Shvakin, who joked soon will be telling jokes about the authorities in whispers in the kitchen on his Facebook profile. Opposing Russian politicians also haven't minced words, saying that the laws are a form of blanket censorship meant to stamp out any form of criticism. Even Sergei Ivanov, a member of parliament from the typically Putin-aligned nationalist LDPR party, said of the new laws, "If we stop calling a fool, he won't stop being a fool." However, seeing as Putin has the final say on what gets signed into law, none of these criticisms really mattered beyond paying lip service to the opposition. What exactly happens if you defy Putin's internet censorship laws? Well, for your first offense, you could be fined as much as 100,000 rubles, which is about $1,323. For your second offense, you can be fined double this and potentially face 15 days inside a Russian jail. That's enough to discourage anyone from posting their favorite meme at Putin's expense, even if it does seem like an insane overreaction on the government's part. Now, this opens up a few interesting questions. First of all, what is a meme, really? Secondly, why might a world leader willing to poison people with polonium be afraid of some stupid internet jokes? And finally, what specific memes does Putin deem worthy of suppression? Thankfully, these are all questions we can answer here. Though if anyone working for this channel dies mysteriously in the next few days, well, you know who to ask about that. So, memes. Let's get to the bottom of this ubiquitous internet trend. It might interest you to know that the concept of the meme actually predates the internet as we know it by quite some time. The expression was first coined by well-known scientist and academic Richard Dawkins of the selfish gene and the God delusion fame. Memes, in their most basic sense, are ideas that spread. They can be actions, ideologies, words, behaviors, and media. Almost anything can become a meme, from the musical stylings of the band Smash Mouth to the stock image of a distracted boyfriend to urban legends about hook-handed mental patients. While this might seem like we're overthinking the latest memes trending on Reddit's front page, the idea is essentially the same as it was for Dawkins. In his own words, memes are to culture what genes are to life. Just as biological evolution is driven by the survival of the fittest genes in the gene pool, cultural evolution may be driven by the most successful memes. And from here, you begin to understand why someone like Vladimir Putin has an aversion to internet memes making fun of him. Putin hates memes for the same reason Chinese President Xi Jinping banned comparisons between him and the popular cartoon character Winnie the Pooh, and Spain attempted to ban images that infringe the honor of a person. Memes spread, and just like Dawkins said, a meme, in the sense of a cultural idea that spreads far enough, has the power to hijack a cultural conversation. While this might not even occur to a normal individual like you or me, Putin has a good reason to be concerned about this, and that's because of a surprising fact about Putin and his inner circle. They're marketing geniuses. Yeah, that's right. You may associate Putin and his government with more raw, brutal strength and public relations prowess, but that's only because that's exactly what they want you to think. Everyone's seen the ridiculous photo ops of Putin riding a horse shirtless, or doing judo, or swimming with the dolphins. These images become memes in and of themselves, but that was by design. While most people may see and share these images and videos under the assumption that they're hilarious, which to be fair they are, they're also playing into Putin's hands. That's because while they make Putin look a little silly, they also make him look strong. Putin and his team have taken great pains to project an image of strength, leadership, and masculinity for Vladimir Putin, using everything from heavily engineered photo ops to extremely unsubtle messages in Russian pop music. Russian pop duo Singing Together released the hit song A Man Like Putin, with lyrics like, "I want a man like Putin who's full of strength. I want a man like Putin who doesn't drink. I want a man like Putin who won't make me sad." With lyrics that flattering, it's a little hard to believe that someone from the Putin team didn't have a hand in the writing process. What we're saying here is Putin and his associates have been using memes for decades to project the idea of Putin as a strong, feared leader, and to some extent this campaign has worked like a charm. So it stands to reason that if a robust meme campaign can help keep Putin in power, an equally strong meme offensive can take him down a peg. Because memes by nature have a tendency to spread, it benefits the Russian government to introduce legislation that gives them carte blanche to nip potentially harmful memes in the bud. So now you're probably wondering, what kind of memes can put you in the crosshairs of the Russian government? Importantly, none if you live outside of Russia. However, if you're a Russian citizen, you'd be surprised by the sheer number of memes considered defamatory or even extremist by Russia's internet censorship laws. In fact, Russia actually has a list of over 4,000 different images deemed to be extremist and grounds for both censorship and even criminal investigation. We obviously don't have time to go through all of them, but let's take a look at some notable examples and case studies of people prosecuted under these restrictive laws. First, the strange case of Maria Moltuznaya, a 23-year-old Siberian internet user whose choice of memes landed her in some serious hot water. The scene of the supposed crime was VKontakte, or VK, Russia's most popular social media website. Maria wasn't exactly a hardcore revolutionary. She just thought she was posting a few funny memes 3 years ago, many of which she wouldn't even have posted now. Still, this juvenile decision had suddenly landed her with a threat of 6 years in prison under charges of hate speech. The same can be said for 19-year-old Daniil Markin, whose VK meme posting habits were deemed similarly illegal under Russia's internet censorship laws. What were the two memes that ended up dunking these two Russian citizens into hot water? One was a group of nuns smoking, with the bottom text reading, "Quick, while God isn't looking." The other was a traditional image of Jesus Christ, except with the face of the character Jon Snow from Game of Thrones photoshopped over it. These two images were perceived as being slander toward the Russian Orthodox Church, a powerful religious institution with close ties to the Russian government, and by extension, Vladimir Putin. Posting these memes got Maria and Daniil placed on a list typically reserved for genuine terrorists. Of course, with the Russian government's history of making politically inconvenient people disappear through jailing and even extrajudicial assassinations, Maria and Daniil were left in a state of perpetual fear for their lives and freedom. This, incidentally, is precisely the point of the legislation. In 2017, 411 criminal cases were raised against internet users for the content of their posts. While this doesn't seem like much, it has the wider implication of striking fear into the heart of anyone who feels like making some dissenting internet memes. But the law covers far more than memes with religious connotations. The legislation is so broad that any meme that can be perceived as misrepresenting the actions or personality of the subject, even if it's fully and clearly intended in jest, are grounds for removal and potentially even litigation. One example is a very basic meme made of Russian musician Valery Syutkin, where a picture of Valery was coupled with a meme text of profane lyrics from another artist's song. This was apparently too much for Valery to take, as he sued the Wikipedia-esque website where the image was published and won. The legislation also gives the Russian government the power to unilaterally block websites without any public investigation or due process. They can also put measures in place to force bloggers to register their blogs under their own legal name, essentially making anonymous blogging illegal. The meme control laws also have a degree of sinister crossover with some of Russia's other controversial laws around homosexuality. During Russian human rights protests, a certain image, later referred to as the gay clown meme, depicting Putin wearing heavy makeup against a colorful backdrop was born. Naturally, the Russian government attempted to ban the image immediately. However, this just resulted in increased proliferation of the image due to the suppression attempt drawing national and international attention. This is known as the Streisand effect. Any memes depicting Vladimir Putin as gay or committing homosexual acts are incredibly illegal, and a number of variations on the iconic gay clown image make up a surprising portion of the several thousand officially banned memes. Others include images of Putin as a standard birthday party clown, images of Putin passionately kissing US President Donald Trump, and even a video of Putin declaring himself to be gay set to jaunty music, complete with a cameo from the South Korean musician Psy, known for his hit song Gangnam Style. Pretty much anyone could look at these examples and see something incredibly silly. Definitely not the kind of thing a world leader should be wasting his time on. But for all the reasons we've discussed in this video, it's really not that simple, is it? For the United Russia Party, the myth of Vladimir Putin is just as valuable as the man himself. When people think of Putin and of Russia in general, they think of a powerful, unyielding force, an image that comes as a result of a carefully cultivated propaganda campaign played out over decades. The real power of memes, and the reason some of them will get you fined or even arrested in Russia, is that they can prove that even a random internet user holds the power to bring all the expensive state propaganda crashing down. Want some more fascinating videos about Russia? Check out Russian stereotypes and how Russia can launch nukes from beyond the grave. In the meantime, enjoy your memes while you can.